Welcome back, everyone, to the State Farm Analyst Desk. It is time for a rematch in our Rumble stage as Cloud9 hunt for a repeat win against Damwon. Cloud9 started their resurgence in the group stage by winning versus the world champion and going 3-0 on that day. So we wanted to look at exactly how they did it, Emily, because they are still looking for their first win. So what should be the strategy here for Cloud9 if we look at how they beat Damwon the first time around?
So yeah, I'm not super worried for C9 yet because I do think they've been making some proactive moves despite the fact that that Mad composition was a little interesting. I do think they need to keep that in mind, right? They need to stay proactive. They need to pick compositions that have maybe a few more ins, even if you mess up on execution early. But I do like their early proactivity. I do like that that's where they're looking to try to get advantages because I think that was a strength of C9 domestically.
Yeah, and I think specifically we saw in that match between C9 and Damwon, like Blaber went for some really interesting pathing where everyone would expect him to be on the bottom side of the map, but he goes for this long loop around the Baron pit, and that's how he's able to attack Khan in the top lane. And it's these types of things that opened up the avenue for now Fudge to start performing super, super well on that Lee Sin.
Yeah, and it was also a catalyst, Emily, I think, for the rest of the day. You really saw Blaber's confidence, I think, growing throughout the moves he made in this specific game and after.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, again, I am a Rumble jungle defender, but it's really obvious that Blaber is a lot more comfortable on the Udyr, right? So in this case, like, don't stretch it. Even if you think a pick is like a lot better, go for what you're comfortable with, really over-focus on that in draft, honestly, and then go from there.
I think that is an important note just because of what we saw yesterday, right? So especially the drafts versus Mad Lions, it almost seemed like there was a flex where they didn't need to be necessarily a flex, and then obviously the Scuttle Crab issues. You could say, okay, that's kind of an easy mistake not to make again, Emily, but you have kind of a bigger fear, I think, for the draft decisions that we saw yesterday.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I think it's a lot about returning to what you're comfortable on, again, something that you can be proactive on, and you know, we're gonna see all of the Scuttle Crab replays now.
Oh no!
Just ignore it, just talk over.
But yeah, I think these are one-offs, right? I don't think C9 look at these games and they're like, oh my gosh, you know, this is something we definitively need to work on. Blaber knows where he messed up. Everyone knows where, you know, they mess up in those kind of situations, regardless of whether it's pro player or solo queue. So you just have to move on. And like I said previously on Countdown, I do think that there's actually a lot that C9 can learn about their play from the RNG game and have really great takeaways from that.
I totally agree. Also in that Damwon game, we have to remember, like, Damwon came back, Damwon was even, C9 was still able to fight back. That's what they have to channel today. But Damwon, they are looking to avenge their loss from that group stage and have a lot to prove after their opening day. Emily?
Oh, thank you so much, Emily. I've always got my trusty pen to cast League of Legends games.
Good catch.
Thanks, man. It's difficult. It was coming all the way from America. Yeah.
So, like, the velocity at which it was traveling. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to be jumping into the rematch of Damwon versus Cloud9. This is, of course, the third time that they have met, and so far they've only been close games. Game 1, Damwon were able to come out ahead, whereas in Game 2, C9 were able to weather the storm and win out a lot in those late game team fights. Let's see how things adapt, because it looks like that for now, Thresh is going to continue to be banned away by the side of Damwon. The Renekton going to be taken off the board as well. And the Lee Sin, the respect ban towards Fudge after his very impressive performance the last time that they met.
Yeah, even though Fudge fell behind in the laning phase, he was able to get a couple of kills and really start snowballing on that Lee Sin in a side lane and in team fights. And now we will see where C9 decide to go. Last time they banned out Gnar, Varus, Renekton when they won. Of course, Renekton already taken away. Maybe something like the Morgana springs to mind, one of those S-tier junglers. Instead, it will be the Nautilus. So Morgana is still available.
So I think the reason why they've done that is because Damwon have shown a very high priority on the Kai'Sa, and I think that pros seem to think that what makes Kai'Sa strong is the pairing with the Nautilus. It was a very strong combo in the past. By removing that utility, she becomes weaker, but of course that does leave up unavailable the Senna. So
I mean, but Ghost on Senna is 8 games, 0 losses, 100% win rate on this champ. Of course, Damwon have 100% win rate on a lot of their picks because they didn't lose much in the LCK, but Ghost Senna is impeccable. So we'll have to see how C9 have decided to draft around this because they knew that they were leaving it up. They knew that that would still be an option for C9, and immediately they go for the Udyr and the Ashe.
Okay, so they're going to match range with range. I think that Ashe can be a very powerful AD carry. The question is, will Damwon do the Senna Cho that we've seen a lot? Nope, they're going to stick to standard. It's going to be the Tahm Kench, and I personally prefer that when playing into a lot of single target CC, things like the Ashe Arrow, the Udyr Stun. Tahm Kench obviously has a lot of value, and he's going to act as a very powerful front line. Right now, Damwon just missing a little bit of engage, but they have a lot of damage and a lot of range. Rumble's ultimate, of course, incredibly long range, very low cooldown. Senna, once she gets those stacks up, is going to have an incredibly long range, and they currently have the front line with Tahm Kench. So pretty solid overall front line. And C9 now going to go for the Lulu, what we believe to be support.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting to see. Coming into the tournament, the expectations were that even though enchanters have been made stronger, you kind of still need your engage to come from somewhere. And given the Udyr and, well, Volibear, Hecarim specifically, kind of fell off, and Udyr's only really the remaining one. You didn't have that many strong engage tools, so Alistar, Leona, Rel, these type of champions are all still very, very important. But when playing against the Tahm Kench, C9 is saying, well, you know what, we think the matchup is worth it. We think that it is way more valuable to actually run the ranged support, and so they're going to do it. That does mean that they will need their engage to come from the top side of the map, and Sion is the first thing that comes to my mind. We've already seen it played a bunch by Fudge. We know that he's happy to play on the weak side of the map, and the Jace ban once again suggests to me that they are looking at a first pick Sion and looking to give the counter pick over towards Perkz.
However, Damwon KIA still do have a ban available, so they could just get rid of the Sion here and force Fudge onto a different tank, a different engage tool, maybe something like the Ornn that can still work in the top lane. I do worry a little bit for BeryL in the bottom lane. He has been a little bit out of position a few times, and if you're ever out of position as Tahm Kench into Ashe Lulu, you are not in for a good time. You're going to be permanently slowed, permanently CC'd. It becomes very difficult for you to play the lane, and instead it's going to be Lucian here with the Nocturne band away. Cloud9 saying, we'll pick the Lucian. We have struggled against a few times this tournament.
Interesting. I wonder if they'll put it top. I don't expect it top. You know, Perkz is an AD carry player after all.
Yeah.
Trying this new mid lane rollout. But there's the Silas is what I'm thinking. Let's just see. Before we talk a little bit about the comps, Ooh, you did call the Ornn, but will they call the Horn?
That's the question.
That is
will
the
the Forge God descend on Summoner's Rift for another game? I will comment on the fact that Khan has his Sion. He has more wins on that than the rest of the LCK combined, and instead, I was wondering if Cloud9 were going to do this. Instead of having an engage tool, instead of having a frontline tank, you go double Enchanter, double AD. It's locked in. Fudge will take Karma into the top lane. You have Lulu for the Whimsy, for the Wild Growth, and if Cloud9 can get ahead, it will be impossible for Damwon KIA to ever get away from them.
Well, I really think that just like when you're running double AD carry, double Enchanter, my brain says that comp just outscales, right? Of course, there's always the caveat of Senna when you have a strong front line and you have a Senna behind, but what I've been hearing a lot from a lot of analyst pros out there is that with things like Lord Dominic's regards, there's a certain point where tanks just don't really mean anything to AD carries anymore. And when they're buffed up even more with enchanters, tanks just kind of melt. And so while Damwon do have this strong front line of the Sion and the Tahm Kench, perhaps it will not be able to survive the onslaught of the double AD carries. But we'll see with the double Moonstone, that's what we used to expect, but that got nerfed, of course. So what will they go for this time? Will we see Shurelya's? Will we see Imperial Mandates, perhaps?
My expectation is you'll see one Moonstone and one Shurelya's. I think usually Karma top still does grab the Moonstone just for the extra healing in team fights, but Shurelya's on Lulu is very strong.
Buff shielding
Gets
too,
shielding buff as well. It's very powerful. So that is my expectation. I'm not sure you need double Shurelya's, but as you say, Imperial Mandate is still an option. It could just be full AP Karma on the top side of the map as well. Last time these two teams met, it was a slog. It was a marathon, and in the end, C9 came out on top. So far in the Rumble stage, they have yet to pick up a win, but what a win this would be to open their account.
And so before we really dive into this game, I wanted to talk a little bit about these two teams because Cloud9 have showcased that they don't actually have a very strong early game medic. It kind of goes against what we saw a lot from them during the regular season, but when we look at their wins versus their losses, you can see in their wins, they're very high kills, right? But they're not actually converting that into huge gold advantages. Yeah. Whereas in their losses, they end up falling very dramatically behind very, very quickly. And that's because I feel like that they're not the fastest team in the early game. They're not super proactive, and sometimes Blaber does make these mistakes that end up really hurting the team. I do think, though, that when playing up against Damwon specifically, this slower playstyle actually works for them because Damwon typically is a little bit more of a slower team. Of course, they are very controlled, they're very efficient, they're very smart, and they can be very cutthroat, I would say. But when it comes to like the early game, they're not the most proactive, they're not the most dominant, especially when running a comp like this. So, oh, hang on a second, Khan and Fudge going off for a little bit of a trade. So this is not great for Fudge.
No, this is really bad for Fudge. He doesn't have like Inspire or anything for the movement speed, has to use the inner flame, that Q, just to slow up Fudge. We'll have the range advantage, obviously, in the top lane, Sion being a melee champ into the range of Karma. And Zven and Vulcan here, alongside Blaber, are able to steal away a red buff. And Damwon will see if Canyon is able to get over his own red and what path Blaber takes, because he is going to be spotted on a ward as he comes away from these Razor Beaks.
So what this does do is split the map.
He's not going to be spotted on a ward.
But C9... Well, sorry, Damwon should have full information as to what is going on here. So Canyon will see how he adapts his pathing, but obviously the risk here for Ghost and BeryL is that the map has been split. And when you're playing Lucian mid, usually you do have priority in the lane. So that means that the bot lane Scuttle Crab should quite clearly and easily belong to C9, assuming we don't see any crazy teleports that we even saw from Cloud9 yesterday. Which means that I'm keeping my, like, what is Canyon gonna do next? Because naturally, Ghost and BeryL want the lane to push towards them, because that's obviously the safest thing to allow them to happen. Let's have a look. What is the pivot here from Canyon? So he's going to do a full topside clear. He's going to cross over this ward, and he's going to clear the topside. So this should give confirmation of the full split map. That's what we expect. But Blaber is actually looking to contest it.
Perkz has been aggressively trading the mid lane, and that means ShowMaker doesn't have much mana. Look at him. He's about 200 mana there or so. Canyon's going to smite away the big Razor Beak, but Blaber is here, and this is 3 quadrants of the jungle going over to Cloud9. They are getting Blaber ahead. They are setting him up for success in this game.
Okay, so rather than actually split the map, what they're doing is just trying to give Blaber absolutely everything, and it's giving him a bit of an early edge over Canyon. The fact that, as you rightly said, he was able to get all these camps off. Canyon now paths immediately towards the bot scuttle. Zven and Vulcan have to disengage. They may even walk up to contest this. You can see Canyon and ShowMaker a little hesitant. They're moving together, and ShowMaker gonna drag it away. I love this. The quick adaptation to make sure that that bot lane cannot interfere. He will secure the scuttle. Still a level behind Blaber, but C9, they got the top lane Scuttle Crab. Curse averted. And their early game so far off to a pretty good start. Putting Canyon behind, putting Blaber ahead. You can see it with the CS difference. He's already in a very, very good position. And I think this is what Cloud9 want. We talked about how they're not the most proactive early game team. They haven't demonstrated at MSI that they have a really strong early game. So keeping things neutral with a slight lead to just keep farming, rely on your skilled individuals. You have pretty good matchups across the board. I think the Cloud9 is very happy with how things are going for now.
And you already mentioned in draft just how good their scaling is. Double AD carry, double enchanter is such a strong late game tool. And we'll see if Cloud9 are able to get to that point relatively even here with Damwon KIA. BeryL and Ghost continuing to trade in the bottom lane. Even CS between the Tahm, Kench and the Ashe, which are the 2 champions you have to look for in this lane. Senna will not be farming. She went for the Spectral Sickle, so she is support Senna until she gets 3 items here. Or 2 items, 3 items, when she gets strong. I will note she hasn't gone for the Grasp of the Undying build, which we have started to see on Senna's quite a lot. Grasp of the Undying into the Frostfire Gauntlet makes you very tanky. You scale up very well with your passive anyway. Instead, it looks like Ghost will be going for the classical Kraken Slayer into something like a Rapid Fire Cannon second.
Also want to note, we just followed, thanks to the observers, the Ashe E there, all the way up towards the top Gromp. Seeing it respawn, but with no information on Canyon, suggests that Canyon's pathing towards top. So Blaber is using this as an opportunity to look for a gank bot. Jungle on the opposite side of the map means that it should be a pretty free trade, but Zven took so much damage in the exchange that maybe they can't commit, but here comes the flank from Blaber.
Ghost has used his heal, Last Embrace coming out, there's the stun, and Ghost is dead. BeryL next on the menu, he's gonna have to flash, but there is the bear stun. BeryL with the thick skin will not survive. Cloud9 get 2 quick kills in the bottom lane.
The polymorph from Vulcan was brilliant, because in a situation like that, BeryL could potentially flash, consume, chuck out AD carry, AD carry lives, haha, single target CC, sucks to be Udyr, right? But just as he's about to save his AD carry, Vulcan's like, now you're a squirrel, and there's nothing that he can do. So just watch what Vulcan does here. So he applies the initial slow, that sets up Blaber to come from behind. Then the polymorph comes through, so he can't save his AD carry, and then BeryL, his flash, tries to come out, but then Blaber has the bear stuns up once again, and they're able to get the kills in bot. Great execution from C9, and again, they had information that Kenya was passing towards top. The counter gank wasn't going to happen, and they're able to find an advantage. So an early game lead for Cloud9. Something that they have been looking for a lot this tournament, haven't been able to find, but they've got it here against Dahm1.
Blaber with that experience advantage in the jungle as well, giving him that little bit more time to get these ganks off. And, for the moment, Cloud9 with a 1,000 gold lead. It was by beating Dahm1 KIA that they had their resurgence in the group stage, leading to the 3-0 day. We're looking for another victory here. Later on today, they do face off against slip my mind. PSG. That's the one. Yep. Face off against PSG, another game that they will be looking at and eyeing hungrily for the win. Blaber once again working his way down towards the bottom lane. Canyon is in the vicinity, but not yet level 6. TP's coming in from Cloud9. They are investing. 4 players on the bot side. Perkz coming in, has the culling available. BeryL's already dead. The culling just short as Cloud9 pick up their 3rd kill of the game.
Wow, Blaber is just doing so much work in the early game. Yes, Canyon is starting to catch up on CS, but the fact that Blaber already had that level advantage, thanks to the early investment into the red buff, into the rafters, and like doing all the clears that he did, he's been able to just stay one step ahead of Canyon. And yes, he's had to invest some of that time into ganking his lanes, but it's paying off. Cloud9
spotted again.
They have information on where Canyon is. They're trying to keep track of him. They're trying to limit his impact on the game, whereas Blaber is just smurfing it, playing heavily towards the bot side of the map, actually getting this Lulu lane ahead and punishing the Senna Tahm Kench. Just beautiful game plan coming in for Cloud9 and great execution. And like, you have to give them a lot of credit because this is the 3rd time that they played against Dahm1, and it feels like that from game to game they've progressively gotten better. They've adapted their strategy. They have continued to evolve and grow, and that is a lot of credits towards the team and the individuals stepping up along with the staff behind the players putting in that prep. The question is, can they close things out? Because this is a great start for Cloud9, but we've seen Dahm1 bounce back before. They are, in my opinion, one of the best team fighting teams in the world. And they are so talented at finding those 5v5s.
They are so good at playing mid-games from behind. In 4 of their 6 playoff matches in the LCK, they were behind at the 15-minute mark, and yet still they won every single one. Yesterday against PSG, they were behind, and yet still they were able to eke out the win. BeryL here has been caught out. Sven's going to get caught up with the last investment. Ghost is trying to turn it around. The Piercing Dark will heal up BeryL. Thick Skin coming out as well with the Ignite ticking on Sven. He's going to flash forward, needs the orders onto BeryL. Doesn't quite get them through the Thick Skin, but the flash picks from Vulcan will secure it, and Ghost is forced back underneath this tower.
And now C9 get themselves a 2v2 kill in the bot lane. They are just dominating, and it is Vulcan on the Lulu that is getting all the kills. I'm sure that's not quite what Sven wants, but you know what? They'll take it. Now C9 has their eyes on the Rift Herald. I think it's a little greedy to contest for this. Giving it up is the wiser choice, and they're going to do just that. C9 here on the board.
One of the great things, though, about getting an Enchanter extra kills is that directly translates into your AD carry's damage. If you get an Ardent Sensor, that's directly translating. It's not like just having a tankier player on your team in the form of a Leona or a Tahm Kench or something. You can actually turn that gold into stats for your AD carry. So, as a support main,
full AP.
Give me all the kills. Give me all the kills. Vulcan here, 2-0-2, having a great tournament so far. It was standout the last time these two teams played on the Alistair with some incredible engages. Perkz trying to dive in onto ShowMaker. Mid lane has been a little bit quiet. We have seen a lot of trading, but the only time either of them has been involved in a kill so far was when Perkz teleported down to that bot lane play.
The early investment in Merc Treads from Perkz is giving him a lot of mobility, and you can see him just sidestepping all those Qs, playing the lane extremely well. Both mid lane farm very even, top lane Fudge. We haven't talked about him, but in the 1v1, he's been doing a good job. Yep. We did see Canyon try to gank top, but it didn't really result in anything, allowing him to just kind of chill. He's decided to go for the Shurelliers. We'll see what Vulcan decides to go for. Will it be the Moonstone? Will it be Imperial Mandate? Or will he, in fact, go for a Shurelliers as well? Could very well be that they just want to be really fast. And And here comes the Hawk shot once again. More information on where Canyon is. Up towards the top side, Blaber's like, oh, does that mean a bot lane gank for me? Perkz going to try and push out mid so he can start the rotation. You can see him spamming spells now. Just keep your eyes on Blaber.
Keep your eyes on Khan as well. He's worked his way all the way around towards those Razor Beaks in a really good position for this flank. Cloud9 have control of the bot side river, but they do not have control of the top. Here comes Khan. Here comes the TP. Fudge going to join the fray as they look for Canyon. Blaber and Perkz doing some damage here. Blaber's going to go in, look for the stun, but Canyon flashes away. Khan on the front line. Won't land the knocker, but does get the slow onto Fudge. Where are the rest of the players in this game? Vulcan and Zven. Here is the arrow. Just between the uprights. Doesn't quite connect onto ShowMaker or Canyon. Khan still landing the decimating smash. There's the knockback. Rumble equalizer coming down. They're looking for the damage onto Blaber. Piercing darkness will come across. And Ghost unable to pick up that kill in the end.
Nice sidestep there from Blaber. Just barely dodging out. Will, of course, sacrifice his flash, so no one ends up dying there. TP invested from Fudge. Damwon will have that advantage, and C9 will lose a little bit just because they rotated up to help the rest of their team. But at the end of the day, just a trade of summoner spells, and nothing too significant now. The battle for the Scuttle Crab. Blaber saying, you know what, I'm stronger right now. You don't... Oh, but that missed time. Smite 2 HP on the Scuttle Crab. Very unfortunate there for Blaber. That top Scuttle once again gets the better of him.
Importantly, Canyon has been able to catch up from the CS deficit he was at early on. Of course, Blaber has used much more time to get his team ahead, to get his lanes ahead. And Canyon has been mostly just farming up on this Rumble. It is the Predator Rumble, something we've been seeing a lot more in competitive play. I know Dark Harvest is the predominant rune in solo queue, but in competitive, you tend to farm more and gank less, so you don't really get all of the benefits out of the Dark Harvest that you can out of a Predator.
Very true. Predator is like guaranteed additional damage. Yeah. Dark Harvest is a little bit more.
Am I smurfing? Cool. Dark Harvest is great. As we see Perkz caught out just a little bit in the mid lane. Force of Will coming down. There's the Rift Herald as well. This will not take down the tower by itself. You get around 2 plates, 2.5 plates out of a Rift Herald charge, and Perkz is actually trying to stop it from even getting that. But with Canyon in the near vicinity, ShowMaker and Ghost will be able to push up this wave. There is the charge. Scatter the Weak goes wide, and that Rift Herald will die after taking just 2 plates in the mid lane.
So I'm going to do a quick Senna stacks check. Currently sitting at 41 for Ghost at about 13 minutes. That seems about average to me. Nothing too crazy for the time being. But I know our viewers at home love to keep updated. Now, the second dragon of the game, C9 immediately on it. No TP from Fudge, but it is there from Canyon. He's going to TP in. Does have exhaust on the spellbook as well.
Equalizer on the back line. Last Embrace going to root up Zven. He gets healed up with Wild Growth. Where is Khan? Unstoppable Force not available for him. He had to walk all the way into this fight, and although C9 have already got the dragon, they need to back away. Just disengage. Khan doesn't have ult. You don't have to take this fight, C9. You can just accept you have strong scaling, you are ahead in gold, and now the TP away from Perkz. I'm not sure he... Oh! Just gets out in time! Oh my goodness, Perkz. That was closer.
I clenched.
I think a lot of people clenched at home.
Oh, Perkz really does like to play on the edge, doesn't he? That TP. The TP is smart. The positioning of the TP, perhaps a little bit more debatable. He had no idea that he was sitting on top of a ward right there. This, of course, will net him a plate. It will net him a wave, and a small advantage once again gained for Cloud9. Second Drake of the game. They did not die, and you can see how difficult it is for Damwon to actually engage without the Sion. And even when the Sion arrived, you pointed it out, the ultimate wasn't available. So that makes it even harder to engage. And when you have so many disengage tools with the speed boost from Fudge and his mantra'd E, you also have the Shurelya's. And we're getting a look back at this. Look how close he was. Khan's ult comes up and he just about misses. All the CC comes out on that
perfect TP there from Perkz.
You know that when he starts that TP, he's like, wait, why are they looking at me? Why are they looking at me?
Deary me, I've seen more difficult more easy speedrunning tricks than that TP timing, right? Like, it was so close.
Well, he gets out, and it does end up working out in his favor. But just because it worked out doesn't mean the positioning of that TP was necessarily a good one. Regardless, Cloud9 sit with a 1.5k gold lead. Very comfortable, continuing to scale up. Right now, I think we're both in agreement that Cloud9 have the scaling advantage when it comes to the late game team fights, but I still have my eye on Ghost and that Senna. Because of her range, she can be quite the menace, especially with a solid front line to play around.
I mean, a lot of it comes down to whether or not Khan can catch out the AD carries with an engage. If he gets a good flank off, if he gets that unstoppable force onto the, unstoppable onslaught onto the backline, then Cloud9's comp can fall apart pretty quickly. But We'll see Damwon now pushing up at the Rift Herald. Flash away from ShowMaker. Dodges the Enchanted Crystal Hour. TP coming in from Fudge as he wants to make this a 5v4 on the top side of the map. BeryL was answering him and doesn't have any way of getting any closer. Abyssal Voyage only takes him to the Dragon Pit, and now the fight really begins because C9 could just collapse. Blaber low, ShowMaker taken out. But here comes Khan and here come the rest of DWG KIA. Ghost stepping forward, Canyon overheated, and Zven can taste blood in the water. It's a double for Perkz. BeryL finally joins the fight, spits Canyon out. Ghost trying to step forward in a 4v2. BeryL and Ghost have overstepped here. Perkz gets caught out with the last embrace. BeryL and Ghost will just be able to walk away, but look at the scoreline, look at the map, Vedius. Cloud9 6-1 up. They're going to take the Rift though. They have 2 dragons in their back pocket, and they didn't even lose their mid tower off that push.
Another one team fight for Cloud9, and both kills went on to Perkz. He's going to continue to siege onto the top lane, and another advantage gain. C9, I think, demonstrating beautifully the power of this composition now. ShowMaker burnt his flash a little earlier thanks to the Ashe arrows from Zven, but you can see how DWG is kind of split up here. Half on the top side of the river, the other on the bot side. BeryL not even in the fight, and so they tried to contest to this Herald, which I don't really think they needed to contest. But by trying to walk into C9 without, again, that engage, you can just see how difficult it is for DK to get on top of C9, using their range, using their mobility. And the thing is, you talked about it, if Khan can catch one of the AD carries, yeah, maybe, but all the shields, all the utility, it is just ridiculous on the side of Cloud9. So I debate if they even can immediately get that one shot, just thanks to things like the wild growth, like the shielding, and with the amount of mobility that a player like Perkz does have on the Lucian as well. So I'm really liking what we're seeing from Cloud9 right now.
And to all my North American brethren that have woken up, looked at your clocks, been like, oh, 7 AM, can I really stand to watch C9 play up against one of the best teams in the tournament once again? Let me give you hope. If you can survive the next 5 to 10 minutes of this game, you have a great shot of winning. This is where DWG start to come back. Between the 15 and the 25-minute mark, DWG close the gold gap and start winning team fights. But if C9 can continue to play these team fights as perfectly as they have been, then they can come out on top. Khan coming in with the Unstoppable Onslaught, the Equalizer, didn't catch out anyone. No one was CC'd.
And that's 2 big ults now used as the Drake is spawning in 20 seconds. It does give DWG control over the river, and C9 is forced to face check. They're going to rely on Blaber to do it, but C9 is saying, I don't care. I'm just going to trade the mid tower. We're going to create this point of pressure that you have to answer. Look at DWG is stuck in this choke point, and they don't know what to do.
C9 just forcing DWG to bend to their will right now. They are controlling the map. Dragon up in a second. Ghost already down to 300 HP. 100 now as Ghost ticks down, and Cloud9 take the quick route towards the Dragon.
They have their eyes on Khan once again.
He can't go in. He hasn't got the Unstoppable Onslaught. Decimating Smash just short. ShowMaker with the scat of the week. If you can find a key target, perhaps you can find something. Perkz just dodging in and out of vision here. Canyon stepping forward. Equalizer almost back off cooldown, Vedius. The question is, can DWG KIA push into this choke point? They're looking for Perkz. He's all alone. The rest of Cloud9 have started up the Drake. It will be the third of the game for them if they can secure it. BeryL stepping forward. Perkz not with the rest of C9 right now. There's the Equalizer onto Fudge, onto Zven, onto Vulcan, but they have stepped away. Blaber secures the Dragon! And when his team needed him, he was able to land the smite, but now Perkz has fallen, and DWG KIA will not relent. Abyssal Voyage in. BeryL forces Zven to flash away. Vulcan forced down towards the bottom side of the fight, but will be able to hobble his way away on this Lulu, not slowed up by the scat of the week, and somehow C9 get out.
Wow, so DWG is able to get a single kill, but Cloud9 get themselves the 3rd Drake. They're likely going to lose this top tower as well, but C9, they know what they want, and they're playing towards it well. Fudge just being a bit of a pain in the backside there. I really think he should take this tower here. There's no reason not to. Okay, but in any case, C9 continuing to hold on to the gold lead, control over the game. Let's have a look back at this fight. You talked about the Rumble ult medic. It did come back off cooldown, and that smite steal from Blaber. I think the fact that Perkz got collapsed on was a really good play from DWG because they had control of the river, and they split C9 up. This is the best position for them to fight, but look at all the disengage. Slow after shield, after speed boost, after slow, after I'm a squirrel. It's just all so obnoxious for DWG, and they can't actually close the gap. So what could have been like an ace for DWG in a traditional, more like meta comp that we see, C9's comp is saying, no, we will deny you, we will not allow that to happen, and they walk away with only losing a single member.
And you know what's harder to play against than a double AD carry, double enchanter composition?
Tell me.
Double AD carry, double enchanters, a Frostfire Gauntlet for zone control from Blaber, double Shurelliers, a Redemption from Fudge, Mantra Inspire, and an Ocean Soul. All of those available for C9 in the next couple of minutes as we do go into a short pause. I hyped it up, and then it comes crashing down as the sepia screen envelops League of Legends.
Okay, I don't think it's going to be a long pause. I'm looking at the chat right now.
Ready? Don't. No, we don't say that until.
They're looking confident. I'm just saying. I'm optimistic. I don't think.
Okay.
I'm optimistic. In any case.
Okay.
This is looking like a great game right now for
Cloud9.
For Cloud9. I am really impressed with their comp. I like the execution, and I like how they controlled Canyon in the early game. And look, it looks like we're just going to jump straight back into the game. So just a brief pause. Immediately bouncing back in.
You cursed us. You cursed us so bad. You cursed us so bad. Can you click on Senna while we're paused again?
Yes,
here?
I can check the Senna stats. I can have a look.
63. That's actually really not that much.
For 20 minutes?
It's good, but like, I remember talking to the G2 players when Reckless was playing a lot of Senna, and they'd be at like 80 to 100 at the 20-minute mark because they played around it.
I was going to say,
important.
yeah, the thing is that the exception to what G2 do with Senna is that like they will leave Mickey in a solo lane and then they will have Reckless follow Jankos around in the jungle and take all the souls. We haven't really seen that from Ghost. So I think like I would say that he's about average. But yeah, in Europe, we definitely have some Senna players that like to get a little bit more accelerated on the Senna. But I will say that when it comes to itemization, Fudge has decided to go for Shurelliers into Redemption.
Yep.
So he is just going full utility. Quite a different build from the Ardent Moonstone that we saw, or Staff we also saw.
Yeah.
So I do quite like that. I think he's really just going maximum utility, offering that support. You can see smiles on Fudge's face right now. He's feeling pretty confident. I think he's had a great game so far. His positioning has been good. His laning's been very strong. And yeah, overall, just a really great performance from Cloud9. They still need to close it out, but again, I'm still really confident with the scaling that they have on their composition. We talked so much about it as well. It's kind of that Lord Dominic's Regard item that is really the breaking point, where this front line just gets melted because AD carries can just kind of destroy tanks. And, you know, often there's that concern about, like, double AD, is it too much attack damage? But you also have the Karma as the engage now comes through from Khan.
Could just be looking for turret damage here. We'll clean it out. Damwon KIA looking to take the tower, but Ghost already down to half HP. The equalizer going on to Perkz, though. Dawning Shadow onto Zven, takes him down to half. Wild Growth has been used. Fudge has a good flank position. Blaber's going to step forward. Decimating Smash goes wide. Canyon gobbled up by BeryL, but BeryL doesn't really have that much mana, and there is the Shurelliers. There is the go button as Cloud9 continue to advance, continue to step forward into the faces of Damwon KIA, and continue to clean up these fights.
Beautifully played from Cloud9. Again, great patience, and you talked about it in the draft, Medic. You can't escape this comp. There's just so much mobility on it, especially when you pair it with an Udyr who just has so much speed behind him. Cloud9 is able to re-engage onto Damwon, get the kills, and now they're looking for a Baron.
And with this Baron, they set themselves up so well for the rest of the game. Ghost spotted out. There's 2 minutes on the Ocean Soul for Cloud9 as well. The Baron will be secured. They can reset, get second items on Perkz, on Zven, and really start taking this game to Damwon KIA. Because you can see, Damwon started this fight.
They did. They wanted to just take the mid tower. BeryL used all his mana. But you can see how difficult it is, again, to re-engage onto this team. They rely on this front line, but when the engage is gone, Damwon saying, no, we've used all our ultimates. We don't have anything available. And the new X Effect replay just sums it up nicely. Cloud9's comp is really online now. It is difficult to deal with, and Damwon is just slowly losing more and more control. The Ocean Soul spawns in 1 minute and 25.
And the question for Damwon is really, what do you do? Because this is the engage. This is the range at which Cloud9 can push upon you. Enchanted Crystal Hour onto Blaber. Forces him to flash away. Cloud9 now with control of the mid lane, with that wave pushing in. They're going to go down towards the bot side, take out that tier 1, and then their Ocean Soul is right within their grasp.
Thinking about it, BeryL not running Cleanse this game is probably a bit of a mistake. It's something that we often see from any Tahm Kenches because they can't afford to get CC'd. And we're seeing how easy it is for Cloud9 to actually just start a fight whenever they want. Of course, they don't quite get the kill this time, but They get the flash out from him. Control of the river. Here's the engage.
Tahm with a good position. Blaber steps in front of the pain train and will fall first. DWG KIA get 1 kill. Zven gonna get healed up here. Perkz has a really good flank position, but he's all on his lonesome. However, how did DWG get onto him? Assuming he can just stand back, stand at range. DWG have no engage. They have no way of stepping forward. However, they have killed off the Udyr with 20 seconds on the dragon. Big scatter the weak, but once again, you can't really chase him down. Fudge gonna flash away. Unleash power is enough to kill him off. Cloud9, in my opinion, you should just disengage. You should accept that you've lost this ocean. Yesterday, we saw you be a little bit too greedy for plays. Remember RNG, the Baron. You went for a little bit too much. You outscale here. Just accept it. They backed away, and they will give up the 4th dragon of the game.
So they're going to lose a lot of value out of this Baron. And they will end up losing the Ocean Soul. Not the end of the world, but DWG showing that they do still have some resilience left in them. They're still willing to fight. They can still find some good engages, and I think this one was just a small, not even positioning error, I don't think. Blaber just makes the choice. I'm going to tank this up. I don't think he needed to, but he made the choice, and the utility just isn't quite enough because all 5 members of DWG are hitting that single member. You can see, again, this kiting potential, but all it takes is 1 bit of CC to land, and this comp is, at the end of the day, quite squishy. So that stun comes through, and that was enough to allow the gap close to get that kill on the Fudge, and then DWG is able to find the kill. So it just goes to show that while this C9 comp is strong, it's also quite fragile, and you have to be very careful with your positioning because DWG is constantly looking for these opportunities. But C9 immediately back on the aggression. They have the Baron buff still. They're sieging on these towers.
Arrow there was used by Zven onto BeryL, who tanks up the culling as well. Both those ultimates down for the moment. Baron buff has now fallen off. Cloud9, 4 members strong in this top lane as Fudge pushes in mid by himself. They have a 3,000 gold lead right now, and they are starting to get past that point of danger that I talked about earlier. Of course, DWG KIA can still win team fights as the game goes longer, but when you get towards 2 items, 3 items on these AD carries, it becomes that much easier for Cloud9 to navigate the fights. BeryL, once again, the man to step forward, doesn't have flash. Canyon does have the equalizer, and Khan has a flank here. Don't know if he's been spotted out on a ward. He's using the oracles, not on a ward yet. That control ward, not spotting him out right now. Khan going in, there's the equalizer into the choke. Khan steps forward, looking for Vulcan. Perkz has to flash across the wall, but he's being chased down, and Perkz is down. Canyon gets him. Dawning Shadow will force Cloud9 away. And with any objectives on the map, DWG KIA will have to settle just for the kill on Perkz.
And you're starting to see small mistakes coming out from C9. They overcommit towards this blue buff, and they put themselves in a choke point for the Rumble ultimate to just melt the entire team.
They're going for
now,
chase.
slow applies onto Vulcan. That's a lot of damage.
Vulcan trying to flash across the wall. Can't actually teleported behind them as well as Vulcan will fall. That's another kill over to DWG KIA, and this is what they do so well. They catch you when you miss position late on in the game.
Remember that C9, after getting the Baron, was 8-2. Now they're 8-6. DWG have found pick after pick after pick, and it is just down to these small positioning mistakes from C9 that they are looking to exploit. DWG are definitely not out of this game yet. They're going to get creative. They're going to look to punish every small window that they can find, and they're going to make sure that they do not lose to Cloud9 once again. This game's still neck and neck.
Just want to remind people how close the game was last time. 1,000 gold between the two teams. 4 Drakes to 3, 11 towers to 7, a Baron apiece. It was a 40-minute slugfest between DWG KIA and Cloud9, and it looks like we might be in for a little bit of a long one here once again. Next dragon, Vedius, that is going to be the battlefield, or even this Baron that is up in a minute's time. Where are we in terms of item? Well, Force of Nature finished on Blaber alongside the Frostfire Gauntlet.
Double Void Staff sitting on top of DWG.
This is actually Canyon's go-to Rumble build. The Night Harvester into the Void Staff for what he does all the time in solo queue.
It's just so much damage.
I love this from Ghost. Serpent's Fang.
The Serpent's
We so
Fang.
rarely see it, but it's so good into these shield compositions.
I think it's a little weaker than it used to be,
Yeah.
because it used to like destroy shields. Now it just makes the shielding a little bit weaker, but I completely agree with you. Good item pickup. It makes a lot of sense on the Senna as well. And I think that he's going to gain a lot of value from it. Going to delay his Rage Blade just a little bit, but there's the Lord Dominic's on Perkz. You imagine that the next one is going to be worked on by Zven as well. So those tank shredding tools are getting closer and closer to being ready. Both teams grouping up mid. The side lanes have been abandoned. I think for C9 they kind of have to. They don't really want to split up that much because DK do have the engage. And that means that if they ever split up, DK are going to look to take advantage of it. So they're just going to sacrifice farm in bot lane, sacrifice some farm up top, and contest this mid wave.
Stun lands onto Blaber. Forced away. Perkz takes a chunk as well. That Senna range scaling throughout the game. Unstoppable force being used here off towards the side, and the Equalizer's going to catch out Blaber. He pops the stopwatch. Ghost, only 100 HP left alive. The Scatter of the Week hits onto 2. C9, though, can re-engage, and this is where their composition really thrives. Dawning Shadow comes out. Look at the shields on Zven. Stepping into BeryL. Have to kite around this fight as much as possible. Decimating Smash gets the slow onto Blaber. There's another Scatter of the Week for the stun. Ghost healed up to half HP just with the Piercing Darkness. Vedius, there were 20 seconds on this Ocean Drake, and Cloud9 are going to give it up once again. Blaber is going back to base. They're looking... Blaber's back in base.
They have their eyes on the Baron, though.
ShowMaker, Scatter the Week, Vulcan down, and now Ghost is on a killing spree. Fudge has to flash away. Magic Inspire, looking for the shields, looking for the heals, looking to get away, but you can't escape the hammer that is Sion. DWG KIA once again get 2 quick kills.
ShowMaker just keeps landing these huge stuns onto Cloud9. It is getting so much harder for Cloud9 to actually re-engage because they take so much damage from ShowMaker and Ghost. This is going to be another dragon that they have to give up, and it feels like that the game is slowly starting to slip away from Cloud9's hands. It feels like that their composition should be stronger, but
Mist is so good.
They just keep everyone hidden. It looks like it's just Ghost, and then the stun comes through. 2-man lands, the flash in from Khan as well. Just extremely well executed from DWG. They saw the play immediately from Cloud9. They're like, oh, you want to try and trade Baron for Drake? Not going to happen. The re-engage, like the 3rd re-engage of a single fight? They're so tense, they're so close, yet Ghost has not fallen. Canyon is not dying, and while Khan is soaking up a lot of damage, yes, BeryL is sitting with the most deaths because he's kind of like often left on the front line to kind of soak up the damage.
His job is to save someone, and if he can save himself, that's a bonus. But right now, it is Ghost and ShowMaker first, and BeryL gets a lifeboat if there's one available.
Exactly that, and right now, he doesn't need one, because the rest of his team are really clutching it up. C9, the pressure is really starting to mount for them. They are so close. They've been in control for the vast majority of this game, and now they're starting to lose it. When you start to lose those fights, momentum starts to kick in, doubts in your mind start to creep. Whereas DWG, they're feeling more confident now. They're sitting there discussing ways in which they can reclaim some control. The gold is basically neck and neck. The itemization is pretty much dead even. And DWG, they've abandoned the side lanes. They're grouping up. They're getting control over mid.
Perkz is in bot lane. Perkz is in bot lane by himself. Blaber's locked up. There's the Equalizer. Blaber has to run straight through it, but look at the shields. Unstoppable onslaught coming in from Khan. DWG KIA will walk up this cannon minion looking for the mid-tier 2. Meanwhile, Perkz is in a side lane. Smite came out there, I believe, from Khan. That makes sense. I was like, who's smiting that when Baron is on the cards? But Perkz is able to take a tier 2 in the bottom lane while this was happening. Will he get out? He doesn't. He's caught out. ShowMaker here. Perkz almost takes ShowMaker down. But the gobble up from BeryL is enough to keep his mid laner alive.
That is 48 seconds until Perkz respawns. Now, with ShowMaker having TP, DWG could just go to Baron if they wanted to. But they're not actually going to gamble it. They're going to push out the bot wave. They're just going to push out mid. I feel like Baron makes a lot of sense here, especially with how long Perkz is dead for. Canyon is hovering around it, clearing out the vision.
110 Senna stacks for Ghost. DWG KIA starting up the Baron. Cloud9, Blaber's bot lane. This is gone. There's no way you can steal it. Baron goes over to DWG KIA. Blaber caught the bot lanes. Cloud9 obviously had decided they would not contest. Enchanted Crystal Arrow goes in, but the Smite will secure it. Canyon gets it, and DWG KIA get their Baron.
Yeah, there must have been a reason as to why Blaber went bot there. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but this play from DWG was just so good. A great utilization of the Tahm Kench ultimate to catch Perkz off guard.
Look at the range on that thing. That's from mid lane.
Yeah. And he almost gets that kill, but the Tahm Kench consume is able to protect ShowMaker and just really clutch stuff. We talked about DWG, man. Like, they don't just roll over and die like that. They don't play the conventional style. They'll get creative in situations like this, and they found pick after pick. They've punished these small mistakes from C9, and now they're the ones with the Baron. They're the ones with the gold lead. They've been able to claw back the Drakes too. The question is, can they siege? Can they break the towers? Because Zven now has Lord Dominic's. We saw him tickling Khan a little bit earlier. but now he should be able to melt through this front line. So let's see, can these AD carries actually get through the behemoth that is Khan and BeryL?
I mean, Khan has so much armor right now. Lord Dominik's obviously will help with that, but he's got a Thorn Mail, a Warden's Mail, a Turbo Chem Tank, and some plated steel caps to boot. The guy is a monster. A mammoth task to get through him. Alongside that, BeryL has got himself a Deadman's, the Frostfire Gauntlet. Here comes the unstoppable onslaught. Does a little drift as Khan, the Drift King, DK, pushing in now towards this mid lane inhibitor. Once again, Perkz is not with the team. He was pushing in top. Mid lane inhib still surviving. A minute and a half on the Baron. Cloud9 still with a very strong composition as the culling comes out. Canyon able to dodge to the side, but the inhibitor still stands. The stun's going to land onto Khan. Tether not quite connecting. Decimating Smash used once again just to force Cloud9 away. 30 seconds on the Ocean Drake. Oh, Cloud9 were looking for that. No, they now know they're in the 4v5 TP coming in. Khan's going to rejoin the play. Does not have the ultimate. There's the equalizer. Hits onto a couple, but the shield should be enough to keep C9 alive for the moment. Here comes Canyon, though, chasing them down with the Flame Splitter. Ghost takes one. Blaber has to flash away. And now Zven is next up on the menu. DWG KIA have had enough. Flame Spitter once again. Canyon almost goes down to the tower. Khan will tank it for him. Now the question is, can Cloud9 defend? 3 players left alive. This game was in the palm of their hand, but DWG KIA are unstoppable. Blaber, Vulcan, Fudge, no AD carries here. They're both dead. First Nexus Tower's gonna fall after Blaber goes down himself. And DWG KIA, from the jaws of defeat, have snatched a victory here versus Cloud9. Cloud9's unwinning spree will continue as the world champions take them down.
Exquisite team fighting later into the game from DWG. They punished some of these mistakes from Cloud9, and the way in which they clawed back was just impressive. Devastating victory for Cloud9 because it looked like it was their game to lose, and DWG were just relentless. There was, the fight at the fourth Drake. Yep. There was the fight at the blue buff. There was the pick in mid lane. It was just, we mentioned it, it was 8-2 in kills in favor of Cloud9, and then it was 8-3, 8-4, 8-5, 8-6, and just DWG kept getting pick after pick after pick until they found that crucial pick, which led to the Baron onto Perkz. Just excellent play, and like, DWG is a team that you just can't underestimate. They played the fights extremely well, and like, we kept our eye on Ghost. You know, we were saying like, that Senna can still be huge. They kept the Senna alive. And they did a great job bouncing back into that. Impressive stuff from DWG, and definitely a frustrating game for Cloud9.
Because it was right in the palm of your hand. It was right there for Cloud9. But ahead of our next game, we'll highlight Elioya as he and the Mad Lions prepare to face RNG to the tunes of Colombian artist J Balvin from the League of Legends playlist on Spotify.
Hello, I am Udyr from Mad Lions, and we chose Amarillo from J Balvin because he's also a guy that represents a lot of the good vibes and to have fun, and that's something that we believe it's really important, and we approach training with a lot of fun.
Find X3 Pro.
back, everyone, to the State Farm Analyst Desk, where Damwon Kia clawed their way back to a win over Cloud9. That brings Cloud9 so far at an 0-3 start in the Rumble stage. And I cannot express my feelings about this game any differently than pure frustration watching this game play out for the side of Cloud9 then, because obviously Damwon fans will be very happy that they showed this resilience, but it happens time and time again.
Look, it's a combination of frustration and heartbreak, because even more than the game against RNG, like C9 were just winning this for the majority of the game, getting all the way to Soul Point. But ultimately, when it came to the team fights and it came to the scaling of these two compositions, that's where Damwon were able to take the lead. And when you look at these two comps, like on paper, I understand I've seen a lot of discussion about like which comp outscales at the end. Like, yes, C9 have double marksman, double supports. Like, in theory, that is really strong scaling elements. But Damwon rolled in with Sion, infinite scaling top lane, Senna, infinite scaling bot lane, and primarily that range advantage you're going to have the later we get into the game. Combine that with a stronger AP jungler the later we get in too, and Damwon have all the edges in the team fights later.
And when you look at that team comp, you then know, well, C9 is going to just have to be very proactive in the early game, Emily. And to their credit, that is exactly what happened.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think that it's about scaling as much as it is about execution, right? Because, again, this is a composition that scales very well, but can be itemized against. And as we saw in the later game, if C9 are not able to execute, if they're not able to see their flanks where Khan is coming in, if they are forgetting that Tahm Kench can kind of just come in, pop in wherever he wants. I didn't even think that this was an optimal Tahm Kench game from BeryL, by the way, just as an aside. Like, you saw that it got to the point where they cannot kill Khan fast enough, right? Because this composition does not have a front line. So it means that you absolutely have to play this perfectly. You have to ward your flanks and you have to take them head on, because you do not have a lot of AoE here and you do not have a front line. You need to burn your opponent down before they can jump on you, and that just did not happen.
Yeah, I'm glad you made the distinction there too, because I 100% agree. Like, the composition from C9 is very hard to execute in the fights later on, because you don't have like the person to buy space for you, because you commit 4 champions into the range scaling lane. You lack in things like zone controls. Like, Ashe can help provide that, but now you're also lacking like that late game hyper carry ADC, because it's Lucian that's very lane dominant, does scale well, but again, very single target focused and doesn't have the same late game punch that perhaps a Senna would, a Jinx would, a Kog'Maw, and so on.
And you have to play pixel perfect, and versus the world champions, that can be very difficult. The Mercedes drive to victory is the final fight for Damwon Kia, but Emily, a couple of the fights before that already started to kind of spell out Cloud9's doom.
And this is where I think we really see what Khan has improved on this team, is the fact that he is great at going for these flanks. And there's actually, you know, again, not super optimal Rumble game from Canyon, but I think you do still see the absolute power that Rumble can have coming out of the jungle. And once we see these junglers who are so mechanically proficient like Canyon get more comfortable with the Rumble with every single game, we're going to see a lot more fights like this where the Rumble just kind of decimates people slowly, and it's really hard to fight through that AoE.
That it is, and we see that from Zven there as well. Unfortunately for Cloud9, Damwon clawing their way back in this game. And after the break, the undefeated RNG and Mad Lions take to the stage in a jungle matchup featuring 2 rookies to the international stage.
Secured. The Canyon also taken down, as Ghost is going to be able to use the rocket jump in order to get out. Pagala is right behind him.
Like, now I think people are starting to realize just how strong RNG is, and they should be considered an S-tier pick.
This is disastrous. The backstep, the mounting dread is not quite enough damage. The flash in, the damage, the autos, they're enough. Humanoid, he still lives. This is heartbreaking for C9. They're so close, but they just get outplayed.
I think they're a really good team, but I think we can win.
The Mad Lions, absolute dominance, 2-0 in the Rumble stage.
They're both undefeated. Someone's got to lose.